US stock markets have plunged after President Donald Trump's drastic tariffs ignited fears of wider economic turmoil. In fact, the S&P 500, it notched its biggest drop since 2020 as investors came to terms with the scope of Trump's assault on global trade. Major companies like Nike, Apple, and Target saw sharp losses. In fact, just to understand what kind of losses we witnessed, Apple, which relies on overseas production, actually lost more than $300 billion in market value, its largest single-day wipeout ever. Commodity prices slumped and the dollar wiped out all of its post-election gains. The trade salvo also led to many experts slashing their growth projections for the United States. In fact, some now predict a recession this year and hike inflation forecasts as well. Trump, though, defended his move, saying it would boost the economy. But China and the EU have vowed retaliation, warning of higher duties on American goods. In fact, the World Trade Organization, meanwhile, expressed concern, predicting a 1% drop in global trade volumes. Traders now fear the tariffs could stoke inflation and slow growth, as I mentioned. But Donald Trump says he's continuing with his approach and the markets will eventually boom. Listen in to Trump's remarks, followed by my colleague Mitch McCann's report from New York.
Well, I mean, it's to be expected where this is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. You know, we've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000, it's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient. It went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually. And we see it because we have trillions of dollars committed to come in, trillions.
Thursday marked the worst day for markets since the height of the coronavirus pandemic 5 years ago. The Dow Jones fell 1,679 points, its worst day since June 2020. The S&P 500 was down 4.84%, also its worst day since June 2020. And the Nasdaq was down as well, 5.97%, its worst day since March of 2020. Now, despite the turbulence on the markets, Donald Trump says he's determined to continue with his approach, saying things are going very well. On Thursday, he said to reporters the markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, and the country is going to boom. There were broad sell-offs across the market on Thursday, but let's start with some of the tech stocks that we've been looking at. Apple, which makes a number of its devices throughout Asia, finished down 9.25%. Meta was down 8.96% and Amazon was down 8.98%. Also affected were sportswear brands, many of whom make their products in Vietnam, Indonesia and China. Nike, for example, which reportedly makes 25% of its shoes in Vietnam, finished down 14.44% at the closing bell in New York. Adidas was down 10% and Puma was down 11.84%. So a difficult day, a turbulent day, a brutal day on the US markets. Mitch McCann, NDTV, New York.